Welcome to the Round The Wicket podcast with me, Freddie Clode, where I'm joined by the greatest all-rounder in the world in Ben Stokes and one of the best fast bowlers to ever grace this beautiful game of ours in Stuart Broad. Over the next 10 weeks, we'll be giving you an unrivaled behind-the-scenes insight into England's quest to reclaim the Ashes down under. Lads, you guys have recently just come out of 2 weeks of quarantine. How tough was it? How did you keep yourselves entertained? I know the families aren't out there, so what were you boys up to?
Well, me and Stu were actually roommates. Well, room neighbours.
Definitely not roommates.
No,
the Australian government would not like that whatsoever.
No. We were balcony partners, we'll say, right? So, but no, it was. I mean, God, like people now, the common question is like, "All right, mate, how was your quarantine?" And you just go, "All right," whereas deep down, you just want to say, "Shit." So,
yeah.
Long story short, shit.
Fucking awful. But
that's the question. Has anyone ever come out of quarantine and gone, it was exceptional? Loved every second of it. Because basically you're sat in a hotel room for 14 days.
but I mean, what were you boys doing to keep busy? What kept you entertained in those dark nights?
It involved a lot of this. A lot of COD. Of COD.
It did.
And Broady, talk us through the triangle of positivity, something you created to try and get you through those dark times.
It was a little bit sarcastic, maybe a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but it kept me and a few of the lads going, just finding... Actually, it came up because I was sat having dinner with Leachy and Jimmy, and I said, what couple of things have kept you really positive in this quarantine? And we actually couldn't think of we couldn't think of three. We're like, this is embarrassing. How can we not think of three things that we've really enjoyed? So we said, right, let's create the triangle of positivity. So it really gives our mindset three things each day we can go, yeah, buzzing with that. And if it's a sachet of coffee, it's a sachet of coffee.
Well, the yogurts took centre stage. Which one was the overall winner? Which came out on top in the battle of the best dairy product?
I mean, you got to respect the natural Greek. It's the trademark. It's what they base their business on. I'm personally a big fan of the strawberry, but as soon as I made that public, they just disappeared quick. As soon as I put that on social media, every time I got to breakfast, it's like I'd sort of encouraged everyone else to get the strawberry, so they were always gone. So I think I only had 2 strawberries in the whole 2 weeks, which is a bit devastating. But Paul Collingwood, who's just got out of quarantine himself with the T20 boys, bought me a strawberry yogurt all the way from the Mercure at the Gold Coast. So I was pretty buzzing with that.
What a lovely touch. Since you boys have been allowed out, come on, hopefully things have got loose. I mean, I know you haven't been able to train much, and we'll touch on that shortly. But what have you boys been doing? Couple of beers out on the golf course? I mean, what have you guys been up to since you escaped the clutches of quarantine?
Well, first day out, we had golf arranged. Broady being the sort of golf commissioner out here for the boys.
Golf coordinator, self-proclaimed golf coordinator.
Yeah, so we had a nice round at Brisbane golf course. First day out, lads enjoyed that. They looked after us really well, actually, and they couldn't have been more pleasant, which was almost put us on the back foot a bit, didn't it? Because we've walked into the pro shop, the guy's gone, yeah, just help yourself to whatever you want, like a free polo, sorry. He goes, free polo, food, all that kind of stuff, we'll put it on my tab. And we're just sort of there a bit like, not too sure how to feel about this, because we've never been so nicely welcomed to an establishment in Australia.
Who's absolutely hopeless?
You spend the 2 weeks in quarantine building your mindset up, don't you? Like, come on, you've got to be tough in Australia. You're going to get out. They're going to slag you off. As soon as you get to the hotel, the media will be into you and asking you difficult questions. And we get to the golf course. They're like, right, guys, great to have you. Have a great time. Enjoy your golf. Have this. Enjoy a halfway house on us, boys. We're like, why is everyone being so nice? It feels weird.
Who's useless on the golf course out of the boys?
I'm gonna say Zach Crawley's one of the best golfers I've played with. Plays off scratch, wonderful. You can tell he's played at Sunningdale from a young age. He cannot putt to save his life. Literally, you can't give him a gimme within 3 foot because you know he's going to miss it. So I think I'm going to call him out because as such a wonderful golfer to be able to not even hit the hole from 3 foot. Something's got to change.
That is
he's been Googling and like showing everyone this new putter that apparently is going to make him be able to hold putts. And he's convinced that getting this new putter, and I must have heard the story about 15 times. Zach, it's not the putter, mate. It's the person on the other end of it, I think. But, you know, I think he'll walk out to the golf course with a bit of confidence with this new putter that apparently if you can't see the red dot anymore, as I said, I've heard it 15 times.
You know what? I was by the lift yesterday and he made me measure. He stood up straight and he made me measure from his knuckle down to the floor so he could order that putter online so he gets the perfect height.
That is outrageous. And
I
you
was lying on the floor by the lift and Rory Burns walked out his room. It's like, what are you boys doing? I was like, no, we're just sorting his putting out. We're sorting his putting out.
Is Burnsy still going ahead with that lid of his or not?
Oh, it's world class, isn't it? It's the only sort of lid that we
can
only dream of. It's down here.
Yeah,
he had a haircut the other day because obviously he's got long and he wanted to get the sides like real short. So he went into one of the Lions boys out here, Josh Bohannon, just to have a quick trim up, and he's actually done a good job.
Really? Well, you boys apparently are staying in the same hotel as the Aussie lads. Has there been any banter when you cross each other in the lobby?
I can't think that I've walked past Nathan Lyon in the lobby and just sort of went, right, mate, a little bit awkwardly. But, you know, me and Jimmy are quite similar. We sort of feel a little bit awkward staying in the opposition team's in the same hotel because I feel like you don't really want to get too chatty with them, get too close to them. You're getting ready for battle in a few days' time. I'm not really sure I want to be in the same queue order in the flat white. Do you know what I mean? So me and Jimmy are quite separate. We sort of, you know, get in the lift with our head down because we're trying to build our mindset up for battle, aren't we? That's maybe a bit of an old school view, but maybe I should be a bit more warm and welcoming.
What about you, Stokes?
I think they're the same. I think the Australians will be the same, but you get the awkward small talk, like, yeah, oh, hey, going, mate? You're right. Yeah, good to see you. You know, how's things going? Like, all right, yeah, sweet. All right, see you tomorrow. Yeah, cool.
Any gaming with the boys?
But I don't know whether I should go completely the other way and, you know, go up to the guys that won the World Cup and give them a hug. Wow, great World Cup. Congratulations on winning the trophy. Because I reckon that might freak them out more. I'm not 100% sure. What do you reckon? You can vote on it.
Mate, I think it's a good idea. So, Stokes, have you boys been gaming against any of the Aussie lads in the build-up, though? You know, a bit of casual COD just to warm the cockles before the greatest series in the world?
No, we haven't been gaming against any of the Australian cricket team, but what we have found has been incredibly entertaining is when we can't get 4 lads together to play Rebirth on COD, we have to do a squad fill, and we always get. And one thing out here is that the Australians have always got mics, so you actually have conversations with Australians who are on your team, and you. There's one guy who will stick in my head for this whole tour that he didn't say a word throughout the whole game until he got killed. I got killed last on the team, right? And then the game had finished, but then he decided to absolutely abuse all 3 of us for not reviving him, and that was his only input to that whole game in terms of any communication.
That is completely ridiculous. But I mean, fair play. But you know, a tiny bit of back and forth. I've been asked to rank your teammates in Call of Duty. Your England teammates. Who's decent? Who's shocking?
Great question.
I would say everyone's there or thereabouts, Stu, aren't they? Everyone's there or thereabouts. There's a few guys who are still sort of learning, you know, the trick of the trade, let's say, James Anderson being one. But he's gotten better. He's a
bit old for COD, isn't he? He's sort of older generation.
No. He back in the day, even when there was like the multi, like Brody will say before Warzone came out, was all multiplayer and FIFA and stuff like that. And Jimmy's all into that kind of stuff. But it's taken him a while to get up to speed, but he's improving, isn't he?
I reckon Joffre's got to be our MVP, and he's the amount of time, and you know, you got to put, what is it, 10,000 hours into something to be world class. I think he's probably about there. Oh, well, to be fair, we probably all should be about there, but yeah, he's probably our most skillful player. But in the quad, maybe he doesn't do the sort of, you know, dirty work sometimes that you need to in a quad to get the dub.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is obviously produced by Forecast, your newly formed media and gaming business. I'm sure we'll discuss business, you know, throughout this wonderful series. But what is Forecast? Can you give us a bit of a headline, Stokesy?
Oh, okay. So it started, but I mean, God, it started as just a sort of a bit of a hobby's probably not the right word, but like, right, let's start streaming like throughout through lockdown when we first had it, because Warzone had obviously come on the scene and taken over and just gotten huge. And then sort of progressed from there. Turnsey, one of the other lads who's involved in creating this, sort of just running ideas past, like, how can we make it more than just, you know, like you going on and streaming and blah, blah, blah. And then presented the idea to Joffre and Stuart as, you know, like an online streaming event where, you know, we come on together and we all sort of play together. We can interact with our fans, because it's sort of a new way for interaction between us as athletes and our fans. Started off like that, but then it just grew and grew and grew into like, right, what can we do to make, you know, different revenues of income for this as a business? Because yeah, we want to have fun doing it as well, but you know, the end goal for this whole thing is to hopefully become one of the it's definitely become the biggest esports organizations in the UK, as well as having some of the other stuff on the side, you know, like investments and bringing, you know, a collection of athletes from all around the UK together, who sort of have ownership over a business, because we're so used to being in these endorsement contracts, which is obviously, you know, great, but you sort of, they're telling you what to do. They want X amount out of you. Whereas of this sort of, we feel like we can sort of take that power back as athletes, and we can control and dictate sort of what we want to do, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And Brody, how have you found, you know, juggling cricket and business over the last year?
I mean, with Forecast, you know, one thing that I've really enjoyed about it is the community aspect. So being part of a sporting community with different sports stars involved, linking to gaming, and actually trying to bring that professionalism and mindset that, you know, we've learned in the professional sporting era into the gaming industry, where, you know, it's a hugely fast growing market. And we feel like we can share a lot of experiences that we've had at Top Flight Sport into the gaming industry, and help guys really improve in the gaming industry. And that was something that really interested me with Forecast, a sort of community thing where you can, you know, throw a text or a phone call to someone in a different sport and say, how are you getting on with this? What you're doing there? And you can learn, you know, even if it's a 1%er, it can make you a better sports person. And for me, I think I started a couple of pubs with my team at Harry Gurney a few years ago, probably 5 years ago now. And I found that a really interesting turning point in my career. It meant that cricket's always been my sole focus, but when you have certain things off the field that can take your mind away from cricket when you need to, it actually made me enjoy my cricket a lot more and take pressure off me slightly. You know, sometimes when you're negotiating a price of beer in a pub, when you should or could have been worrying about what ball you're going to bowl tomorrow, it can take your mind away from the pressure of elite sports. And I would recommend to any sports person out there to have some off the field hobbies or business interests that can just take that little bit of pressure on thinking that sport is the be all and end all, because yeah, of course, it's important. You have to put your heart and soul into it, to every game and every training session. But you know, Stokes will agree with me. If you can't get your mind away from the pressures of top flight sport, you're not going to last that long.
Well, boys, let's talk some cricket because, you know, we're about to enter into the biggest contest in Test cricket, the Ashes. We can't wait. Next week, you boys enter into the Gabbatoir, and hopefully we get that, you know, that first victory. But Stokesy, we're lucky to have you with us, aren't we? Because you nearly lost a wrestling incident with a sort of a pill or a tablet last week. Can you enlighten us what happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, I can laugh about it now, right? Because I'm here. But I mean, let's get the conversation. So I got a message at 8:40 from Stuart, Broad and Rooty, which is the time of,
find it here.
Yeah, which is the scheduled time of our bus leaving to go to training. And oh god, we've had so many messages since.
But, yeah, I was just thinking, I've just been scrolling like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah. Saying, here we go.
You on bus at 8:42. That's an 8:40 leave. So it's a bit like, look, you're 2 minutes late. We've had to shout the driver to stop. You're not on it. Where are you? He replies, I've had some morning. You'll laugh when I tell you. So didn't really answer my question, that, to be honest.
No, not at all.
So I said, look forward to hearing, but are you on the bus? No. Okay. So I said, okay, all okay there. Funny because it's bad or funny because it's good? And then I'll let you take over, Stokesy, because...
Yeah. I'll read the message out. So long story short, I've nearly choked on a pill. It didn't go down right. And it started dissolving in the wrong place. It tried to come back up, got stuck. So I'm having a full-on battle with the pill, which is stuck in my throat. Eventually, I won the battle. Now I feel like someone has lit a fire in my throat as the little effer was also dissolving in my windpipe at the same time it was trying to kill me.
Fuck, you know. I mean, firstly, what kind of pill were we taking?
Yeah,
we can't reveal that. A big one.
Pills
a big
just
one.
The pills to get me going in the mornings. Yeah.
So there was no one there to give like the Heimlich maneuver. You didn't sprint out, see Gary Lyon in the foyer and say, "Come on."
No. So now I'll now do the story. I'll do the story. It was so basically, I clean my teeth before I leave the room, take my pill, just about to walk out the door, and then like I just remember going sort of like like that, and then just felt this pill like go like clunk, and then. You know, if you take water, it goes down the wrong throat, you sort of have a coughing fit for like a good minute. Like, it's like, right, okay, that's going to happen, right? And I've tried to then start coughing, but I've just gone like... It felt like about 3 minutes, but I reckon it was generally about 30 to 40 seconds, right? And honestly, I've never been so scared. It's genuinely scared or panicked in my life. I think it was about here, directly behind me, just... there where I reckon I was struggling with this. It eventually then came out. But then what started to happen after that was, because I asked my doctor, I said, what was going on there? She explained, she goes, your body's gone into like overdrive to like, you know, because it's meant to do that. Yeah. But my throat down here, that's what I mean. It felt like someone had set fire underneath my throat. And then I've never felt or seen so much saliva come out of a nose or mouth that I did in the next like 20 minutes. Because what had happened, she said, is you've got these glands here behind your ear that sort of were like just pumping saliva to get all the stuff out that needed to, because your stomach's obviously got all the acids in there to deal with pills to dissolve and stuff. He said, but your windpipe and your trachea, that's what was causing all that pain in your throat. So these glands were like working overdrive to get all of that stuff out. And then I've managed to get hold of my physio and like rang. I was like, is someone medical still here? Send them up now. So luckily our team doctor managed to come up, and then she was just sort of like sat there, just like rubbing my back, giving me milk,
That sounds
and then
lovely.
giving me Gaviscon pills because like I was just literally I was in so much pain. It was that bad that I was like that, like doing that on my knees, but I was pushing my head as hard as I could into my hands because I thought that would take the pain away that I was experiencing. I got into training eventually, and all that's like, I had this like bruise just sort of like across my forehead, and I was like, yeah, it's because I was pressing my head into my hands that hard. But
It
Broady
made me
didn't
feel a bit
believe.
guilty for just texting, "Are you on the bus?" Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, get on the bus, mate. Where are you?
Broady didn't believe me.
Ruthie didn't believe you.
But yeah, Broady didn't believe me. But the other thing about that is so I eventually got into training. I then got hit in the arm, thought I broke my arm. And then so left the nets, went over, got sort of ice on it, and then the lads finished training. Broady came over to me in the changing room and he was like, "Yeah, I'm all right." But within getting hit and then getting back to the dressing room, I was just sort of by myself because everyone's still training. Like it just sort of hit me what happened in the last 2 hours. Like, and I generally went to Broady. I went, "Yeah, my arm's sore." I said, "But I'm actually sort of a bit in the bush about what happened this morning." He's like, "Nearly died." Like just processed like what had happened, and for the rest of the day I was absolutely gone. Like I was just like I was pointless. I was so wiped out. I just had like nothing. I just came back into the hotel and just lied on my bed for the rest of the day.
Well, thank God Broady's always there to cheer you
And
up.
genuinely, like Freddie, genuinely, like Stokes' eyes at training after he'd been hit. So he was lying on a physio bed with this ice pack on. His eyes were like purple all the way around. Whether that's from like pushing like that or just like the fear of
Crying,
it, but his eye like properly purple all the way around.
Yeah,
I just just saw the next text I sent. This sort of sums up my empathy and sympathy in life. I really need to keep working and bettering myself. Not, "Are you okay?" It was, "What's your Call of Duty timetable today?"
Well, you've got to bring him back down to earth. Get him back in the room. Lads, preparation-wise, apart from the fact, Stacey, you nearly died twice in one day, it looks like the rain has ruined all preparations over the last 2 weeks. We haven't been able to basically get in a couple of hours of practice, let alone a day. I mean, what a nightmare. Before we even had these 2 practice games, it was going to be the least practice we ever had going into an Ashes. That's, made it even more ridiculously harsh. What are your boys' thoughts on it? Are we going to get any game time before next week?
So if we focus purely on the triangle of positivity right now, instead of thinking that the fact we've not played any outdoor cricket at all, I think mentally we're going to be as fresh as any England team's ever been coming into an Ashes series. I think being mentally fresh and mentally ready is the most important thing in Test match cricket anyway. My dad said to me when I was like 15, he said, "Test cricket's 80% mental, 20% technical." So actually, if we do 80% of the work right in our minds, we'll be absolutely fine. We're all going to be undercooked. That's every England player, every Australian player. There's no doubt about that. We normally play 2 or 3, maybe 4 first-class matches coming into a tour like this. We're going to go in with none. We're going to go in, we're walking around Brisbane in the rain, just trying to get miles on the legs, do 13, 14, 15K walking each day, bowling indoors. But, physically, we've all played enough cricket to know what we've got to do. Mentally, we have to be able to put pressure on ourselves, build up the atmosphere in our minds, build up those competitive juices emotionally, so that when Wednesday comes at 10 o'clock, we're calm enough to be able to deliver, but we're actually emotionally switched on enough to be aggressive enough in the game to perform in Australia. So, technique obviously is important, but is an underarm throw in an indoor school going to help you at 10 o'clock at the Gabba? No. But everything you can do in there can.
Stacey, when you took that brief break from the game earlier in the year and then you had your first net session back, which you put on your Instagram, you look slightly out of nick. But I mean, for a professional cricketer, the greatest man to ever play the game in the all-rounder role, when you take 2 months out of the game, do you really notice it when you come back? Do you feel like you're sort of like a 13-year-old playing cricket again?
So surprisingly, right, I've spoke to a few people about this. It's like, so when you have a break to sort of, like just rest the body for like 4 or 5 weeks or 3, 4, 5 weeks, the first day after your first session is horrendous because your body is just so sore. And so after I didn't pick up a bat, I didn't bowl a ball, didn't throw a cricket ball for, basically 4 months. So I was really not looking forward to the day after my first session. And I had a bat, I had a ball, I threw, and I was like, I'm going to be in the world's most unbelievable pain tomorrow. I woke up, I've never felt so fresh in my life. And I have not felt stiff since coming back and having a training session since I took a break. But Brody, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there, about the day after your first bowl back. Normally you're bad, but I promise you, my first bowl, which was after 4 months, I woke up and honestly, my body felt great. And I don't know if that's because the break was different to how we normally have a break. It's like, well, I've only got 4 weeks to do it, whereas obviously I had a very long break, and it was for different reasons than, 4 weeks, go rest your body. So don't know if that's got anything to do with it, but Brody will say as well, yeah, the first day after bowling is very sore, but didn't feel it. But I felt horrendous with a cricket bat in my hand, yes.
Really? Completely out of net. But now you're looking absolutely fantastic, I'm sure. Brody, how good does it feel to have Stokesy back amongst us? I mean, nobody lifts the troops quite like Benjamin Stokes.
Yeah, obviously very special. I feel like since COVID started, actually, I don't feel like I've played a lot of cricket with Stokesy, to be honest. I feel like, COVID has changed the world of cricket massively, and we've hoped that come the new year it will get back to some sort of normality. But yeah, I remember I was in Mauritius actually, and Stokesy, I mean, we've been in a lot of contact over the last 3-4 months, probably 3-4 times a week speaking. But he texted me when I was in Mauritius, literally. Can only been 10 days before we flew, was it? Or 2 weeks before we flew, just saying, just want to let you know before I come out, I'm coming to Australia. And I was sat next to Molly on the sun lounge, like, I've just had the best text of the year. I'm buzzing with that. Bear in mind, Molly and I got engaged this year. So second best text of the year. From the congratulations and stuff on engagement day was probably a bit better, but second best text was Stokesy saying,
well rescued,
because we know what an influential player he is on the field, but I just feel like there's a bit of fear factor with the Australians with him, things that he's done against Australia in the past, looking at Headingley of how he won that game in 2019. For us, obviously, the balance of the side and everything he gives us is really important. But I think the emotional side and the leadership role within the group is more important than that, actually. Just having him around, he's a warrior, he's a fighter, he's going to stand up when times get tough. And to win in Australia, to be honest, of course you need runs and wickets, but you've got to be able to front up to tough times. And it was great to get that, get that text to say he's coming.
Stacey, deep down, obviously you never knew what was happening day to day, week to week, but did you always have in the back of your mind a coming back into the side for the Ashes series? Surely you couldn't have passed up the biggest battle in the world.
Hand on heart, no. Literally, it was just happened. Like, I wasn't ever going to force coming back because I felt like I had to. I wanted to come back because I wanted to. And I remember the day where I was like, yeah, I'm ready to come back. I'm going to start, getting my body ready for Australia. And then obviously made the phone calls to the people who needed to know that that's what's going on in my head. And yeah, just started from there. But it was literally, it wasn't like, not sure. I'll give it a few days. It was, spur of the moment. I was like, yeah, I'm back. I want to get back into it now.
Mitchell Johnson said, with Perth maybe being moved to Melbourne for a day-nighter, there may be 2 pink ball tests. There's been a lot of rain out there. It's more like Britain than Brisbane. Are these little sort of, pockets of confidence we're taking, going into Australia? Do you boys feel like the conditions are more suited to us than any time before?
I mean, have we... I'm just trying to think. Like, we could give a little cliche answer here, Stu, couldn't we? But have we actually thought about it?
I hope so. The Ashes are a week away.
Yeah. I mean, but like in terms of that, like obviously, but honestly, like at the start of when we started recording, this has been one of the most remarkable build-ups to any Test series ever. There's just been nothing like we've turned into an indoor cricket team who occasionally gets a net outside, but like we've been making sure. So me and Brody have got a little hashtag comment to each other, and we just stare at each other and just go hashtag fun. Every decision we make, it's about fun, right? Brody started this new thing called hashtag. What is it, Brody? Hashtag no umbrella walk.
Yeah, the hashtag no umbrella walk. So when it really starts to rain, and we're not talking sprinkles here, we're not talking like a little dash where you get your rain jacket on. We're talking when it's properly chucking it down. You've got to get outside, just a t-shirt on, and go and walk in the rain. Hashtag no umbrella walk. That's what it says on the tin. But you know what? Everyone was very skeptical when I started suggesting it around the group. I don't know if they're a bit worried about me, but we've had quite a few takers. You know, your Ollie Popes, your Zach Crawleys, your Stokeses, your Leachies, your Jimmies, Ashley Giles today, the boss. And without doubt, everyone feels better after it.
But
maybe have to put a little terms and conditions on that, because if you're going to try that in the UK in December, with one layer on, that might bring a cold. But Brisbane's still warm, at least when you're getting like poured on. But my mindset was, if I just sit in my room watching the rain out my window, going, I'm not getting any cricket, not any training facilities, I'd feel a bit emotionally flat. So actually getting out, and when you're getting rained on, FaceTiming the lads like, you've got to get out here, it's pouring down. I don't know, everyone just seems to like seems to lift the spirits.
Have you boys been frustrated by the lack of facilities put on offer for you boys by the Australians?
Literally,
we've had
Freddie, there's nothing they can do. It's poured down. There's literally.
But I mean, inside schools, do you have access to them 24/7 if you need them, or are they keeping things? Are they shoving you down like a gymnasium around the corner with nothing?
No, we've been we've been using their National Cricket Centre, like for the indoor school facilities have been great. Obviously, doesn't replicate what you're going to get in a week's time, but you can get a bit of workload in and all that sort of thing. But it's felt very different to any Ashes tour or any Ashes series, any build-up that I've ever been a part of. But we're arguably the least prepared, most underprepared cricket team to play a tour coming to Australia. But we've been exceptionally prepared in 13, exceptionally prepared in 17, and lost 5-0 and 4-0. Maybe we wore ourselves out. Maybe we weren't up to the emotional challenge when it came. The preparations have been the same for both sides cricket-wise. Their bowlers have been sat in a quarantine hotel having won a World Cup. Emotionally, they're going to feel a little bit flat, surely. I mean, you win a World Cup, you want to go party for 2 weeks. They went to the Mercure and the Gold Coast and ate yogurts. It's not how you'd want to celebrate it. So they're not going to be like emotionally high like you would be after a World Cup win. Both teams have had exactly the same amount of preparation cricket-wise. Am I worried that we've barely had any prep? Well, no, because we've had loads of prep before and it's not worked. So actually, I've got a great feeling about this. We've not really been in the news here particularly. It's sort of a bit like we're not here yet, which is quite rare.
You're flying under the radar.
Flying under the radar. We just got to make sure that come Wednesday, when there's 50,000 people in the Gabba, that doesn't take us by surprise. Of course, if we get our first over wrong, or a batter's going to nick off for naught, 100%, because it's going to take a bit of time to settle. That is what it is. That's a game of cricket. But if we can have 6-7 of our players really switched on for that first day delivering, I think we'll be in a really good place.
Talking about we had the so day one, obviously, it was a big sort of, right, this is where the Ashes are starting for England. They've got their England v England Lions game day one. So there's obviously a cameraman who's been sent there to film us getting onto the bus. But it is raining so hard. But then in about, 2, 3, 4 hours later, this cameraman is still there outside the hotel waiting to get some kind of footage of the England cricket team. He was leaning against the wall and he just looked at the road and he seen me and Stuart Broad driving down this hill on electric scooters.
Jimmy.
And he just stared at us and was like, and Jimmy. And he was just like,
what my day.
He was like, we just looked at him with this like smile on our face, like, all right, because he was been sent there for the whole day to film us getting on a bus, but instead he sees us in casuals, absolutely drenched on a scooter.
Well, Broady, you've got a lot of experience playing over in Australia. We were talking earlier about you boys going for a walk in Brisbane, turning up to the Gabba next week with 50,000 angry Aussies. What are the worst sort of, crowd sledging insults you've fallen victim to in Australia? Well, both of you over the last series in Australia.
I remember my first tour, my first tour, I feel on the boundary a lot. And I just constantly, like, the same comment was just, it was either, I remember my debut, I constantly felt the whole day feel, says, "Oh, enjoy your first and last test, mate." And I was like, oh, yeah, good one. And then what also then happened throughout the rest of that series was, like shouting, like, "Stokes, I hope you got your factor 50 on, mate." And then like a group of 40 Aussies just start pissing themselves.
Oh my God.
Like,
it's the watered down beer out there. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Wow.
So I in 2013, the head coach at the time, Darren Lehman, called for Brisbane to give me hell, so to speak, in his own sort of words. I think he had a few too many beers on a podcast and sort of, on a radio show and called for the crowd to really get stuck into me. And the Aussie partisan Aussie crowd took that quite seriously. So there were T-shirts made up, stubby holders that they drink the beer out of with Stuart Broad's a shit bloke on, and they'd wear them around the ground, and the Barmy Army would try and get to the stalls and throw all the T-shirts in the river and all that sort of thing. So it became a bit of like banter between the two. So the crowds were pretty like booed me quite heavily and were pretty ugly towards me. But I had a brilliant moment in Melbourne, which made me really realise that, obviously, naturally very passionate sports fans, the Australians, but they're just there to enjoy a day out. They're just there to, enjoy a day's cricket. They're not there to personally abuse you. They're not there to, it doesn't last with them. Because I was walking with my mum just before Christmas near the Botanical Gardens in Melbourne, and I had a cap on, walking down the road, and I saw like 100 yards away a lad walking towards me with a yellow T-shirt with gold, with green writing on saying "Stuart Broad's a shit bloke." So I was thinking, with my mum, not really up for getting abused particularly. So he's getting closer and closer, and he starts sort of looking up at me, and he stops me. He goes, "Oh, excuse me, mate." So I'm like, "Oh, hi." Bear in mind, now I'm a yard away from a bloke who's wearing a T-shirt saying that I'm a shit bloke. Expecting him to abuse me. He goes, do you know where the park is? So I'm like, yeah, the park's just over the road there, mate. He goes, "Oh, cheers, buddy, have a great day." So I'm like, he's wearing a T-shirt saying I'm a shit bloke. He's got no idea who I am. He's just bought it pissed at the cricket. Doesn't have a clue who I am. So that was just nice. That was a nice moment of like, they don't care. They're not personally abusing you.
Yeah.
They're just there to have a bit of fun, and they're going to go home.
Well, so, over the last couple,
that's the mindset I go with.
Over the last couple of years as well, we've seen some incredible sledging. I mean, it's been one of the greatest things about isolation or quarantine, COVID cricket, is the fact they turn up that stump mic, and back at home we get some real good viewing. So we've had a bit of T-Pain, who's got awful chat, let's be honest. Rishabh Pant, pretty decent, and then Dick Vella, probably the best of the lot, or the best we've heard on the stump mic. Who are the best sledges you've heard? You know, maybe for England, maybe against teams you played over the years. Surely there's been someone you've just gone like, brilliant.
You know, we get asked this question quite a lot, right? And what makes a good sledger? I honestly, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think what the thing is about, if you're going to sledge, or it doesn't have to be sledging, it can just be chatting, right? You can be like, if whatever you're saying or whatever you're doing is that annoying to the batter, and then he ends up like, you know, biting at you, because you that's what you're trying to do when you're saying a bit. You're trying to get them to bite and like get out of their, you know, their little bubble which they're in. And if they bite and then start going, and then, you know, another over goes, and then they get out, you're like, yeah, like I got him there. Whereas there's like sledging that's like sort of just aimless. Like you get into a battle with someone, and then you're just sort of, you're just going off, and there's not much IQ in many of the stuff that we say to each other. There's a lot of swear words that goes on that thankfully doesn't always get picked up on the stump mic. But sledging, yeah, like I don't know.
But come on, Dick Vella's was clever, right?
What did he do?
Well, Dick Vella was going like, oh, you know, he's asking for Ruti's bat. He was just having a bit of banter with the boys.
Right, yeah.
Do you remember Sri Lanka earlier this year? I mean, do you boys play in Test cricket? I'm starting to question this.
Well, I actually wasn't there.
Oh, fair play, anyone.
But I do know what you're.
Now you're saying you weren't supporting the lads back home, Stokes. Is that what you mean?
No, yeah, I've seen the clip on Twitter. Right.
But Stokes is right with sledging. You know, it's not what you say at all. You're just trying to get someone's mind away from them concentrating on what they're doing. You know, there's certain people in the world that you just wouldn't sledge at all. You know, you wouldn't go near Kohli, really. There's no point, because it sort of gets him to an emotional state that makes him better. KP was very similar. No point sledging it, because it actually got him more into the battle, made him way better. So, but there's people who have certain, you know, rhythms to their batting that you try and disrupt in a subtle way. And it doesn't have to be just the bowler. It can be the fielder that can get in their way if they've got a particular like routine or anything. It's just, how can you make someone feel just slightly out of their comfort zone? Because Test cricket is all about living outside of your comfort zone. So you just have to sort of try and, you know, it's just little techniques to get someone's brain not concentrating on what they should do, so they make a mistake. So yeah, you got to pick your battles, I think. And there's not many of the Aussies that I look at now and go, oh, I'm really going to target them, because experienced Test cricketers, you don't become experienced Test cricketers unless you can handle it.
Look, there was one real bad moment where, so the first Test match at Edgbaston in 2017 against Australia. This is Steve Smith's first Test back. And I played with Steve in the IPL for a few seasons, so I got to know him quite well. And he's very, as you know, he admits, and you'll notice on TV, he's a very fidgety character when it comes to batting. And I was like, right, okay, so I was just keep saying to him, I was just like, have you changed your grip? Like Gully, and sort of like, he'd always like turn around and sort of give you that like, oh, like, and then be like, yeah, you've definitely changed your bottom grip here, haven't you? It's like, it looks like you're holding real tight, thinking, yeah, this is going to get in his head here. Ends up getting 200s in the game, didn't he? Didn't say another word to him throughout the whole series.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. We were in the lead in that first innings, and then Smith fucked up. So cheers for that, Stokesy. I mean, you guys have obviously got two real standout performances in the Ashes, memory-wise. Headingley for you, Stokesy, with that gravity-defying match-winning ton, and Brody, I mean, it doesn't beat that scintillating spell at Trent Bridge, 8 for 15. Now, Nathan Lyon featured in both of those. Did you lads watch the Amazon Prime Ashes doc after the recent Ashes series back in England? And what were your thoughts on watching him being publicly humiliated by Langer? Come on, boys.
So I watched that episode, right? And
what do you mean publicly? I've not watched it. What did he do?
Well, so he made the whole team watch the last hour, the day after. And I was like a bit like, not sure I'll be having that. Like,
do you think it was pretty brutal? Did you feel sorry for him?
Because I've been there before, and like at the end of the day, when a game is finished, that is, you know, that's where the sportsmanship comes out, you know, regardless of who you're playing against, right? And I've been in a, you know, situation like that, and I know exactly how Gaz would have been feeling. And you sort of, I know exactly how he would have felt going back to that change room when the cameras aren't on him anymore. He would have actually been able to let out his emotions properly. I mean, but there's two sides to it. Obviously, when turning around and seeing him drop that ball in the moment was just absolutely fantastic. But then when you know how someone is personally going to feel, you have that respect as being another professional athlete. Like, okay, well, what's happened's happened. Like, yeah.
Because every sports person goes through moments like that. Every single one. And whether you do it on your debut for Nottingham, or you do it in an Ashes Test match, or you do it in a World Cup, you know, that's fate. That, you know, you don't know when you're going to make a mistake or an error, but everyone's got to deal with it. And it's, you know, I think there's a mutual respect in the world of sport that when people have those sort of tough moments, you know, everyone can have empathy towards that, because we're all going to go through it.
Well, broadly, if you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. It's the perfect anecdote from Somnia, watching some of Langer's long speeches. So, you know, whack it on if you can't get to sleep one of those nights, and you'll be off in a flash. Well, I want to finish on Hampshire last year. Cricket returns for the first time after COVID. Stokes here is captain, fantastic. Broady's looking brilliant in his white bandana, ready to play, warming up in those wonderful new tracksuits. The sponsors are new, everything's new. We can't wait for cricket to return to our shores. And then, Broady, you run up, you walk into the dressing room, and then you find out that you're not playing. Since then, however, you've been absolutely incredible. Was it not a turn of genius as we look back into it by Mr. Benjamin Stokes? What are both of your recollections from that day, and also that pre-prepared, or maybe not, off the cuff rant in that Big Brother chair?
the rant, yeah. I can honestly say there was nothing pre-prepared about that, and I can honestly say I've got a lot of respect for those people that I watched on Big Brother, sat in that chair when like their emotions came out, because I was just in a room like this, like a hotel room, with this big chair and a camera, and Ian Ward on the other side of the camera. So when you're doing media interviews, generally with people in the room, you're obviously going to have your barriers up, because you know you're chatting to the press. But I felt like I was almost like just chatting to myself. So it's probably a little bit more expressive and emotional than I meant it to be. But having said that, Stokesy will know from when we talked about me not playing that I was quite emotional about it. You know, I almost lost control of my sort of body for a moment, in the sense when I got told I wasn't playing, I was it hit me quite hard. But there's no doubt it spurred me on to make myself a better cricketer. The key to being left out in that game made me realise that I still had a huge drive to be an England cricketer. And as soon as you lose that competitive spirit and you lose that drive to be a top flight sports person, then I think your race is run. So it was actually quite the perfect reminder for me that you should never be comfortable at top level sport, because you don't own the shirt. You know, every time that selection's available, there's 11 shirts in cricket available. And B, it made me realise I'm still up for the fight, and I want that fight to continue.
Stacey, did you think he was going to knock you out when he told the news?
No, I remember.
Don't worry about that. I wouldn't be so silly.
So that was for me. That's always one thing that I've always found must be the most difficult thing about being a captain is having to tell players that they're not playing. And the thing about that particular test is that we had so many players in the squad that it wasn't just the two guys or the one guy that he's saying he's not made. This was like a group of maybe 10 players who's saying, "Oh, sorry, mate, you're missing out on this one," because we had such a big group with us. But I remember Spoons at Silverwood saying, "Do you want me to speak to Broady?" And like I was like, no, I need to be the one to tell him he's not playing, because or else that's just going to look like I'm like hiding behind the decision. And I also think that if I didn't tell Stuart myself, that there would be a bit of respect lost between him towards me, not having the balls to come up and tell him. And I always remember when Brody says it, but he genuinely felt like he was, the emotion just hit him so hard that I just remember, I'll never forget. It was like just sort of, not like shaking like this, but like didn't really know how to sort of like take it. And then I also got asked the question, I remember once the test finished, obviously we got B, and I knew for a fine fact, when I seen Michael Atherton was the one doing the post-match presentation, the first thing he was going to ask was, do you regret not playing Stuart Broad now? And I was like, I knew that was going to come. And the first thing he asked is, do you regret not playing Stuart Broad? And I just remember having to say like, well, no, because what type of message does that send to everyone else who played this game that, oh, I wish I picked Brody over you now? And then the other side of it was, if Brody hadn't reacted like he had and he just not given a toss, then that would have been more difficult to see as a teammate, that he's not got that like disappointment when he's getting dropped, even though he's played 140 games. You know, he still had the desire to go on. And then, as you say, like he's almost found a new gear. I mean, I'm not saying that me dropping him's, you know, create a new Stuart Broad, but I think that the thing that he's nailed on the head there is, when you lose that desire, when you lose that willingness to go and like commit and really put yourself above and beyond, is when it might be time to call it a day. And he certainly didn't have it the day I told him that he wasn't playing the game.
You gave both his lid and his cricketing career a sort of a second wind. It's been absolutely fantastic to see, and we've all benefited from it as fans. Boys, we've got one more quickfire question. You guys have been incredible. But quickly, we've got to mention our sponsor for this episode, which is the wonderful ThreeDots CBD. I know you boys are involved in the company. As, you know, premium athletes, as some of the greatest cricketers to ever touch this earth, what does ThreeDots CBD, you know, help you boys do in, you know, preparation for matches, or, you know, rejuvenating yourselves after a long day in the field?
Well, personally, I've actually not used it whilst I've been in a game yet, because of since I started taking it, I've not played a game of cricket. But I found it personally, I found it a very good thing, which actually got to the end of a night, and it was actually something that genuinely felt like it was shutting you down. You know, like, actually, when you take it and then you're sitting there, you generally feel like you just sort of like gone like, oof, like, which is the effect that the CBD is meant to have on you. And
so it's had on you, like when you lose the gulag. Is that what you've been using it for so far? If you're not
well, we don't play gulag anymore, do you? Yeah. I mean, yeah. If we did do it every time I lost a gulag, I would have 20 cans of empty ThreeDots around myself. But I've personally found a huge benefit from it from a personal point of view, away from sport. But I am, you know, obviously going to continue using it throughout the series from a recovery point of view, because I know how much it actually does help me shut down on an evenings. And sometimes it is very hard to shut down on evenings throughout a test match, especially depending on the game situation.
And CBD's become, you always want to say the word fashionable in sport in the last couple of years. A lot of different sports stars are using CBD for different reasons. And, you know, it's fashionable for a reason, because it works.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a phase. You don't get top class sports stars using something just because it's a phase. They use it because they feel like it can aid mind, body, anything to help them perform.
Well, guys, if you want to aid your mind, body, and souls, then go on to the website. The link's in the bio, and you can get 20% off with the code WICKET20. So, boys, we're finishing off now each week, as we'll finish off the rest of the series, where we uncover some stories of greatness circulating around your personal memories on and off the pitch. You know, quick fire answers. And this week, I want to know from you both, what are the greatest spells of bowling you've ever faced? The best ones you ever bowled? And also, who's been the greatest value in the team room during your careers?
Okay, so what we've got, greatest spells we've ever faced.
Yep.
For me, the greatest spell that I've ever faced would be...
You say quick fire, Stokesy. That means...
Vernon Philander at the Oval 2017. Couldn't lay back on him.
Best one you bowled?
Best one I bowled, 2015 Trent Bridge. Same game as Brody got, as 8 for 15 actually.
Okay, and then we'll let you think about greatest teammate. But Brody, let's hear your best faced and best bowled.
Best face, I'm going to say my first ball in international cricket, 2006, was Shoaib Akhtar off his full run. And, you know, a year out of school, it was the quickest thing I'd ever seen. So I think that was quite a nice welcome to international cricket. Best spell I've ever bowled, I'm going to say, was at the Wanderers in 2016, just because game was on the line. It's South Africa's backyard, the Wanderers, amazing place to play. Emotions were flying high, and you know, there's no better feeling than bowling a spell that can help the team win a Test match, as Stokes mentioned for his at Trent Bridge. So that was my favourite spell. Best person in the team room. I don't know. We've got a few
throughout your career. I mean, you can go old school if you want, Brody.
Do you know what? I think some of my favourite moments are when Ruti gets the guitar, because A, it just takes me straight to what David Brent is like in the office, and B, generally he only grabs that guitar if we win a Test match. So that's always a good place to be.
Does he get that from his dad? Because, you know, I came out to watch you boys in Sri Lanka, you know, 2 series ago. We were staying in a B&B, just 5 of my mates, and then his mum and dad. And Root got his 100 at Candy, came back. The dad took our guitar, completely pissed off his nut. We all were. And he sung American Pie by Don McLean about 7 times over.
And you know what? He does the full version as well, doesn't he? I remember
we couldn't stop him.
In Barbados. Yeah, he just goes for it. Yeah. Don't worry, that's all around the world.
He's got a beautiful voice there.
I think we've seen that on our team bus at one stage as well.
He needs to learn a different song, maybe. You know, maybe just going forward. Stokesy, best teammate?
For Moeen Ali. I mean, from a dressing room point of view, like, you've never seen a man be able to break the ice any easier if something's a little bit awkward, and just
genuinely, it's the quickest humour you'll ever meet.
He's hilarious.
He is great. I remember Cape Town when you and Bairstow got that incredible knock out there for 2 days. I said to Moeen when he was running out, I said, get him with the straight one, though. He said, they're all straight.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, that's all that kind of stuff, man. He's just so witty.
Boys, just to finish off, can we win the Ashes? Please say yes. What do we have to do? Brody, you kick us off.
Of course, we can win the Ashes. We have to just focus and just win day one at the Gabba. You know, no point looking further than that. Focus on the small prize. Everything else will look after itself.
Stokesy?
Exactly the same. You know, it's obviously Test match is a game, but every day is a different game. And if you can win the majority of those days throughout the 5 Test matches, then you're more than likely going to come out on top.
Well, guys, thank you so much. That sadly brings an end to this week's episode, but join us next week where we will be discussing the build-up to the first Test match and getting a behind-the-scenes insight into how these geniuses prepare for such a mammoth occasion. Stokesy, Brody, thank you so much. Lads, ladies listening, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
To be a professional athlete, you need confidence and, in my opinion, an attitude to constantly want to improve.
Stokes is the hero of the land.
Both on and off the field, the team is the most important thing.
The greatest Test match innings ever played.
Forecast, we're in it together.
Is it going to go over his head? No way! You cannot do that, Ben Stokes. Stuart Broad has got his hat-trick. That is an absolute jaffer from Archer. That is one of the greatest catches of all time.
We'll go 3 for 3 dots. There we go. Hi guys, Ben, Mike here. we're going to be having a go at making our own forecast mocktail with our key ingredient being ThreeDots.
Are you going to put them all in?
Yeah, why not?
Well, there'll be different flavours.
Yeah. Whoa! Listen as well.
ThreeDots powder.
One more. We'll go 3 for ThreeDots. There we go.
It'll be chilled out after this now.
It's alright. Hold on, you do that and I'll start cutting this. Start cutting the grapefruit.
What? I told you it should.
I've left the label on as well.
What are you doing?
Oh mate, what we're doing? This is an absolute disaster. That.
I'm going to put the whole grapefruit.
Yeah.
You won't be able to drink it.
The option there is just to let it marinate. Take it out, it's marinated.
Yeah.
Right. And then what I'll do is I'll just cut this.
It's not going to work.
How do you know?
Because I know exactly what you're going to do. This kind of work.
There you go.
Kind of work. Pretty good. Not bad.
Not bad, right?
First time.
There you go. The forecast mocktail. Tastes horrendous.
Oh my god! It exploded all over. Oh!